Chris, you talked about it after Saturday night's win, just the toughness your guys, put through to get a win, a rivalry win on the road. You guys aren't playing your best game, and you said it would bode well the rest of the season. And how important is it going to be coming up with essentially a road game on Saturday at a Big Ten team? You guys have to go to Grand Canyon, Bakersfield, Irvine, away from here for 35 or 8 straight games, I think it is. How much is that going to be key, like with the stretch coming up for you guys?
Well, hopefully we'll be in some close games against really good teams on the road, and I just think that having been through that experience already with this group, that it can only help us when we're in that situation again. And I'll talk about it during the game. We're 2-1 on the road with our only road loss at St. Mary's in our second game of the year, and so we feel pretty good about our mentality on the road thus far. And certainly we're going to have a lot of contests here coming up. They're going to be tough situations and challenging, but I really feel that our team should have some confidence not only on the road, but when we're in a situation where it looks bleak and we're down and the crowd's against us, and to kind of stick together and try to figure out a way to win the game.
Is that the toughest environment you feel like you guys have played in so far this year?
Thus far, yeah. I mean, you could feel it a couple of times. I don't have a lot of, things to compare it to, being you never played there before. But, a couple of times there when they took the lead in the second half, I actually tried to call timeout when we got down 7, and I was trying to bark at City, and he couldn't hear me. And then we turned it over right then. Before that, Jamaro turned it over against the press, and then they scored another basket, and then finally we got the timeout. But yeah, it was a great environment, a lot of folks, and it was fun.
Playing a Division II team tomorrow. What are you kind of looking for in that game? Obviously, your final home game for a while.
The last time we had this situation was the Prairie View game, where we had a bigger game, and then maybe not such a bigger game name-wise in between games, and we handled it just okay. We certainly just got finished talking about that with our team, and I thought our practice was really good. Our focus was good. Unfortunately, we're going to be some guys down tomorrow. A.J. Harris has been battling some injuries, and he hasn't practiced much, so we've met and as a staff and feel like for the duration of the season, it's in our best interest to shut him down for a few days and try to get him to be healthy. So as of right now, the plan is for him not to play. And then Keon Jones went out with an ankle injury during practice, and I'm not a doctor or trainer, but he wasn't putting any weight on it, and he's going to see the doctor right now. And then there's a chance that Eli Chua won't play as well. He's been battling some knee issues, and he needs to get an injection to relieve some pain, for the rest of the season, not just for a short-term deal, but for a long-term deal. And, we just don't know when exactly the best time to do that. So there's a possibility that we'll have 3 of our top 9 guys out tomorrow. And, if that's the case, then certainly we'll be looking for some guys that maybe are wanting more minutes for an opportunity to step up and show us what they can do. And, we'll just kind of see how things go in the next 24 hours.
I know Jamaro didn't finish the game on Saturday with cramps. Is he okay? You good to go tomorrow?
Yeah, he ended up staying the night. He really wanted to come back, but, it was so bad he just was cramping everywhere. And that's partly because of, their style of play, and partly because, he played a lot of minutes in a row down the stretch, and we just felt like we needed those guys on the floor, and we were going to roll with them. And he gave everything he had, and but they got some fluids in him, and we were off yesterday, and he looked fine at practice today, and he was back to his normal self.
When you talk about those 3 guys not possibly playing tomorrow, do you think that they could be available for Saturday, or is it just kind of a wait and see right now?
The Keon situation will be a wait and see. We'll know more this afternoon once he goes and sees the doctor, and they look at him, and I'm sure have x-rays on his ankle. AJ and Eli, if indeed they do sit out, I expect them to be back by Saturday's game.
Coach, I know you haven't been here very long, but obviously a cool moment for the school with Lou Henson being honored on Saturday as well. I know you know Lou. I'm just curious what your relationship is with him, and if he's come around the program at all this year for you guys.
In a short period of time, I've gotten to know Coach, and it's just a thrill for me because I grew up in Iowa, and he was the, Fighting Illini coach, and I was obviously an avid basketball fan and in Big Ten country. So, he was a legend to me, and I remember I'll never forget meeting him at IHOP for breakfast, my first week on the job. And then ever since then, he's been calling me every week or two and touching base with me on how the season's going, asking me about recruits. And then he actually called me Sunday morning and to congratulate me and our team on the win. And we talked about the upcoming game on Saturday, and just to be a part of recognizing Coach and being the winningest coach at 2 programs, and for him to be there, and it'll be a lot of fun.
I know, looking at Saturday, I know you and Coach Underwood, you know each other very well. Coming back to the JUCO days, kind of talk about just how you guys, know each other and how excited you are to face him on Saturday.
Yeah, we both cut our teeth, in junior college basketball, and have had similar paths to where we're at now. And I've known Coach a long time, and got to know him even better a couple years ago when Oklahoma State came in and beat our Shockers at home, which doesn't happen very often. Just really respected how well his team played, and he had a tremendous year at Oklahoma State, and he's taken that style over to Illinois. But the good thing for me is, having played against it already, I got a feel of what it's going to feel like on game night.
Yeah, talk about Illinois a little bit. Obviously they're going to have a lot of athleticism, being a Big Ten team. I'm assuming a lot of size. What kind of style are they playing under Coach Underwood?
I haven't looked at him from a scout perspective. I caught a little bit of their game a couple weeks ago. Just happened to have some time and flicked the TV on, and they were playing, so I watched it for a few minutes. But I haven't watched it any scout-wise. I'll get into them starting tomorrow, once we get everything ready for tomorrow's game. But just from talking to other people and watching what I did watch, it sounds like, they're playing a similar style that he played at Stephen F. Austin and Oklahoma State, where they're putting a lot of pressure on you. They're not so much in the full court like New Mexico did, but in the half court, they just pressure the heck out of the basketball and put a lot of the onus on the ball handler to make good decisions. They deny all over the floor, and they really turn you over. Now, their field goal defensive percentage, is usually a pretty high number because they turn you over so much. They really don't care about that stat. They understand they're going to give up some easy baskets because they're turning you over. So they put a lot of pressure on your guards. You got to do a good job of understanding what you're about to face. And then, like I said, I don't know their personnel at all, and I'll get to know them better here starting tomorrow.
Coach, now that you're through the rivalry series, did it go kind of the way you wanted, or should I say, was the feeling kind of like what you thought it was going to be like with the fans and all the hoopla around it? Did it kind of go as you expected?
Yeah, I heard a lot about it when I arrived, and certainly been in a lot of rivalry games in my career and different institutions that I've coached at. But I heard so much about these games, and it's so unique in that, you play them twice in the same season, or at least we do. And I don't know of another program in the country that does that outside of league play, so it's a unique situation, and they're meaningful. You could tell just by all the chatter about it, and, one of the first subjects that people bring up when you meet them is the Lobo and the minor games, and certainly how the results came out this year. We couldn't have asked it to turn out anything better than what we did, and being able to beat them twice in the same season. But certainly was a lot of fun this year, and I know they're going to be crucial games every time they show up on the schedule. But they were about what I expected in terms of the environments and just the build up, and certainly there's you can feel the pressure. Everybody knows these games are ones that everybody's going to remember when they leave here, and it's going to be something that the fans are going to be talking about, in the off season. And certainly, this year we were happy with the results.
Did you get to interact with some fans after the game?
I did. I really wanted to acknowledge the ones that made the trip. There were certainly a lot of Lobo fans in the building, almost 13,000. But there toward the end, when the game was in hand, or actually when the buzzer went off, we could hear those folks, and definitely wanted to appreciate them and acknowledge them for making the trip. And then there were a few handfuls that actually waited, after all the media was over and the showering and loading the bus, and they were out there waiting for us to kind of send us off. And so we got to interact with them, which was a really neat moment.
Coach, what has this team proven to you through its first 9 games?
I think, especially after the last game, that, they're starting to believe in one another and believe in the system and this team going forward, because the easy thing would have been to just shut it down, being down 9 in enemy territory. And they didn't, and what I really liked is they stuck together and they didn't try to make the home run play. They just kept grinding and, possession to possession. I didn't realize it until after the game, but the reason we won is we gave up one field goal in the last 10 minutes of the basketball game, and if you can rely on that and know that you're capable of doing that down the stretch, even when the ball is not going in the hole, that's a big confidence builder that when we don't shoot the basketball very well, that we can still find a way to win, and that's really a good trait for any basketball team. So I think that's probably what we're learning most about our team, what they're learning most about each other, is that on those nights when we're 9 for 18 from the line and 4 for 20 from 3, that because you defend and rebound and play hard, you still have a chance to win close ball games.
What do you know about Eastern, Coach?
I know they're well coached. They play really hard and they seem connected, and they're in stances on defense, and they run a lot of sets. So we chose to take Sunday off. So we're going on a one-day scout, which is tough to try to get everything in on the floor by tomorrow night. They're better than their record. They've had some tough losses here down the stretch. And, they're an older veteran team. They only have one guy that's in their top 9 that's not a junior or senior. And certainly, being a guy that's never been Division II, but I've been at lower levels, this is going to be a huge game for them. And we're talking about this being their Super Bowl and that we've got to be mentally prepared. And if the situation becomes us being down a man or two, it's a recipe for a disaster for us. And so we're going to keep working on their mental side and try to make sure that we're ready to go. But we're going to face a team that's hungry, and they're going to give us everything they got, and we got to be ready to go.
What exactly is AJ dealing with? I don't know if you said. Is it just
hip flexor. Hip flexor. I think it was after the UTEP game. We didn't know it during the game, and he showed up the next morning, was very, very sore. So he's been doing a lot of rehab, and he's been wrapping it. And, I noticed it on the video. He kind of picks his spots to show us his explosiveness, and on game day it's better because of the adrenaline, and it's game day. But he hasn't had a full practice for quite some time, and, he's not shooting the ball as well. And I think it's because his legs aren't quite underneath him, and his timing isn't as good as it needs to be. And, if we keep doing what we're doing, I think it's going to nag him for a long, long time. And because of all the games we got coming up in the Hawaii trip, we don't have as long a break, as maybe most teams would. And so we felt like at this time it's probably in our best interest to try to sit him down right now and get him to be healthy for the rest of the year.
The UTEP game here, or the one down there that you noticed?
I think it was the one here.
Okay.
I'm not 100% positive, but I really believe it was the one here. But it could have been the one there. It was definitely, the UTEP game.
Kind of piggybacking off that a little bit with your guards, City has had a great year too. It seems like he's kind of back to 100%. I know he's kind of said he's got more left in him, though he wants to show. So what have you kind of seen from City this year that's really helped your team?
He's a dynamic player. He's a versatile player. I've said that before. He's got the ability to play the 1, 2, and the 3. And the thing that I like most about him is he's developed into a defensive stopper. He's been guarding the other team's best players the last few games, and we've challenged our team that we, earlier that we need someone like that, and specifically him lately because he's shown the ability to be the guy that takes on that assignment. And certainly we have a team concept defensively, but certainly we have matchups, and we try to get him, with the other team's best player, and he's kind of bought into it. And when you can stick someone on the other team's best player and feel confident that they're not going to reach their average, they're going to stay below their average, they're going to give them fits, that's a big-time luxury to have. And, he's developing into that. And, I think his mindset maybe wasn't like that when we started talking about that in the fall, but he's slowly, gradually, taking on that role, and I really like that about him. And it relieves, some issues for us to stay away from some foul issues with other guys. He didn't play great against New Mexico. He was a little on his heels. He was a little passive, and I expect him to come out better playing tomorrow.
Coach, since you are missing some guys tomorrow, does that give Wayne a shot, potentially?
I don't know. Maybe. It's definitely going to give some guys some shots. We can't play with 6. our guys that have been playing, in that rotation need to be ready to play and play well. And then the guys that we decide to play tomorrow that maybe aren't playing as much lately, it's a great opportunity for them. And that's what I've told them. I mean, unfortunately, when someone goes down, we don't like it as a unit, but at the same time, it gives others an opportunity to say, hey, coach, I'm here and I deserve more minutes. And so we're going to look at, 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4 tomorrow, depending how everything flows. I'm not exactly sure who it's going to be, but those guys need to step up and show us that they deserve more minutes. And hopefully, maybe one of them will play well and give us some more depth.